From calorie count to portion size, we want to find out all the differences between Cadbury chocolates in the UK and in India. This is Food Wars. Cadbury Dairy Milk in India comes in ranges of 4 sizes. Number 1 is Cadbury Dairy Milk Minis. It comes in this large packet with 18 smaller pieces of 7 grams each.
Our smallest are these bite-sized 11-gram bars. Then we have these 18-gram little bars.
A simple 24 grams tiny one.
Next up we have our multi-pack bars, which weigh 33.5 grams. The standard individual dairy milk bar weighs 45 grams. Your duo bar, which comes in 2 halves and weighs 54.4 grams.
Then a 55 grams Maha Pack.
Next up we have this 110 gram bar.
Family Pack, 126 grams.
Then we move to a 180 gram bar. We have this 360 gram bar. The biggest size you'll find in the UK is an 850 gram giant bar.
So in India, Cadbury is really well known for its gift boxes. In fact, they've done so much marketing over so many years that it's become synonymous with festivals like Diwali, Dussehra, and even Christmas and New Year's. On their website right now, you can get anything from an anniversary tin box to a Ramadan tin box, and they come in several different sizes. For starters, there's a standard personalized gift box which contains 6 Cadbury Dairy Milk bars, 3 of which are silk and 3 of which are standard. And that's the one we have right here. In fact, they've put my face on it. I mean, that's a whole lot of packaging for normal bars of chocolate you can just buy, I guess. It even says Food Wars. Oh, it says US versus India. Sorry, Harry. Apart from this, you can also get a larger personalized birthday gift box which will contain 450 gram silk bars, 3 birthday whistles, a large banner, a birthday hat. So the next time you don't know what to do for your birthday, just order this to your house and you can have a party by yourself.
Now we have some gift box items of our own, but they usually come more in the form of selection boxes. These are most commonly seen around Christmas time, at which point Cadbury's will release Heroes and Roses, which are selection boxes containing 600 grams of individually wrapped chocolates. It's a real tradition in British households to have a few of these lying around. The other options include Quality Street and Celebrations. People tend to have their own favourites when it comes to the selection boxes and also the chocolates inside them. I think generally Heroes would be my preferred option over Roses. I prefer the kind of more mainstream chocolate bars that you'll find, including little Whisper Bites, which I think might be my favourites. If you want a gift option for all year round, opt for a milk tray. These have been around for decades. I think my mum used to be giving these to people when she was growing up. And for the run up to Christmas, you've got to get yourself an advent calendar. I don't think I'd normally go for one of these. These are a little bit flimsy, quite narrow. But still, you get a lot of joy from opening a tiny bite of chocolate every morning in the run up to Christmas.
Here are all the Cadbury products that you'll find in India that you will not find in the UK.
Here are all the Cadbury products from the UK that you won't find in India. This is so much chocolate.
In terms of our classic dairy milk flavors, we have 2 exclusives. Number 1, roast almond, and number 2, crackle. This used to be my favorite as a child, but right now I really like this. Delicious chunks of roast almond.
We have some exclusive dairy milk flavors of our own. Firstly, for the health conscious among us, we have this 30% less sugar dairy milk. I guess this could be helpful as well if you find regular milk chocolate too sweet, which some people do, but then I guess just opt for some dark chocolate instead. Next up, we have Cadbury Caramel. It's a bar of dairy milk, but inside each square there's a little bit of caramel. This is one of my favorite ones. It does get a little bit sickly if you eat too much of it because of the amount of sugar, but very tasty. We have some big taste bars, which are chunky versions of dairy milk, starting with peanut caramel crisp. And we also have a triple choc sensation big taste bar, which combines dark milk and white chocolate in one delicious bar. These ones look really cool. They've definitely put a bit more thought into the design of the bars. Tastes really good as well. Next up, we've got dairy milk with crunchy bits. Now this is crunchy with an IE, not crunchy with a Y. Crunchy with an IE is actually a bar of chocolate you can get here in the UK. It's milk chocolate with a honeycomb centre. Then we have a dairy milk dime bar. Dime is another chocolate bar which Dairy Milk has kind of collabed with. I think it's like a very thin, brittle almond caramel bar with a little bit of chocolate on the outside. My granddad really used to like Dime. Then we have this Marvelous Creations Jelly Popping Candy Bar. As the name suggests, it's a bar of chocolate which contains some popping candy as well as I think jelly beans. I've not tried this in a long time. I want to see what the ratios are like and also if I can really feel the popping candy. You can see like a couple of bits of, I assume, jelly beans peeking out of the top. The pattern is kind of odd. Usually obviously you have squares, makes it nice and easy to break apart and share. I'm just going to bite into it like a madman. You really do get the popping candy. My mouth is popping. It's actually not too bad. You get little chewy, sweet bits in with your chocolate. There's a lot going on, but I don't hate it. For vegans in the UK, Cadbury's also has a plant-based bar. I've never tried this, so I want to see if I can taste the difference between this and dairy milk. I mean, it looks like chocolate. definitely does taste of almond, which is okay because I quite like kind of nut and chocolate as a combination. If I went vegan, I don't know if I'd be rushing to the store to buy this. It's okay, the texture's pretty good, but the flavor just really isn't there. Our last two exclusive dairy milk bars are actually a mystery. 2 bars which contain fillings of a mystery flavor. You try and guess what the flavor is, and then you can submit your answer online. Myself and the rest of the crew have now got to try these and give our best guesses. Mystery bar 1. Oh god, last time I threw stuff at you, it didn't go very well.
Got it.
Ooh. Okay, it's fruity. Currently we're thinking maybe rose. I'm personally thinking apricot. Struggling to agree here. We can taste more. I swear I get fruit. While we figure that one out, we'll try mystery bar number 2. Now this one smells aggressively fruity. Catch Leon. I'm getting quite a lot of like very artificial raspberry flavor. I'd be fairly confident in asserting that as raspberry. It might be blueberry. Plot twist, they've already revealed the flavors. We didn't know. First one was rhubarb and custard, classic British dessert. Didn't really get very close to that one. Second was blue raspberry, which we actually did kind of get. I personally don't think I would buy either of those again though.
Maybe the first one.
You don't mind it?
And now for our silk range, or as Cadbury is trying to rebrand it, the S range. What is this? Some sort of new iPhone. But whether you call it silk or S, I love these chocolates. First off, we have the typical silk. Basically, it's just dairy milk, but a lot silkier. Then we have Dairy Milk Silk Bubbly. It's Dairy Milk Silk, but bubbly. That's nice, light, airy. Next, you have a Dairy Milk Silk Fruit and Nut. Then we have Dairy Milk Silk Hazelnut. Wow, there are some proper large chunks of hazelnut. The hazelnut itself, the flavor of it really lends to the chocolate and it doesn't taste as sweet. Next up, we have Dairy Milk Silk Roast Almond. We have Dairy Milk Silk Mousse. They've tried to recreate the flavor of mousse and you can see that it's a lot more fudgy, the chocolate inside. It's alright. Oh man, there's one that I'm scared to try. Dairy Milk Silk Bubbly Bubblegum. Oh no, I saw the color of it. Oh my god, why have they done this? Growing up, we had a bubblegum called Boomer, which is now what we have all become. That one bite was really not that bad. It definitely tastes like bubblegum and gave me that Boomer vibe. That's as much as I can have of that. Now to cleanse the palate, Silk Oreo. That is a nice flavor, dude. I think this is my favorite out of the lot. We also have another variation of Oreo. It's Red Velvet Oreo. If you watched previous episodes of Food Wars, you remember that one of the ingredients that has taken India by storm in the past few decades is red velvet. And I have tasted this before and I actually think it's really good. But it is overkill. It's literally Dairy Milk Silk, the Oreo white cream, and chunks of Oreo that have been turned into red velvet. Do you have a treadmill? Finally, we have Dairy Milk Silk Heart Blush. I imagine you give this to your loved one. It says pull over here, and I'm pretty excited to pull this. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. I can't believe I've been rickrolled in my own video. At the back, there is a very elaborate looking tear tab. So I'm just gonna... Not very easy to... Wait, what? I'd probably break up with whoever gave me this at this point. This is frustrating. It's more packaging. Alright. More packaging. This is honestly a very wasteful way to tell somebody you like them. There you go. It's some pink chocolate. Oh my god, I swear to god if it's the same as the bubblegum, I'm gonna cry. It's not bubblegum, so... This is actually quite a fun experience, I'm not gonna lie.
Now we don't have silk bars, but we do have something called dark milk. Cadbury's has kind of invented this hybrid milk and dark chocolate for someone whose tastes lie somewhere between those two. Here is the dark milk. Dark milk also comes in variations including a salted caramel flavour and a hazelnut flavour. I feel like they've tried to market these a little bit more at adults maybe as opposed to kids. The packaging kind of gives a slightly more sophisticated vibe. Sexy, if you will. At the other end of the scale, we have some even sweeter options than classic milk chocolate. Firstly, we have Caramilk, which is golden caramel chocolate. This one I have not tried. I'm kind of intrigued. I'm gonna have a bite. I worry it's gonna be far too sweet. Wow, that's very sweet. You do get notes of caramel, but I really don't think I could eat more than a couple of bites of that. And of course, we also just have white chocolate. As I've said, I'm not really a big fan of white chocolate, and I don't think I'm alone in that because this basically wasn't available in any of the big supermarkets that I looked in. The shop we were able to track it down in was Poundland, which is a shop in the UK where everything costs £1. I know it sounds ridiculous to an American audience, but that is what it's called.
So you can find Cadbury Boneville dark chocolate in both the UK and in India, but there's a slight difference. In the UK, the packaging is bright red. And over here we have different flavors, 50% dark chocolate and 70% dark chocolate. I have over the years grown to like dark chocolate. I was never a fan of it growing up. But 70% dark chocolate, I don't know. Oh, you know, it's not as bitter as I expected. Very creamy. Also, the cocoa is 100% sustainably sourced. Next up we have fruit and nut. It's got a peanut in there. It doesn't taste as heavy as the other chocolates I've had so far, and I really appreciate this. Am I growing old? Is that what's happening? And the final flavor is cranberry, which I've been the most excited about. I don't think I've had any chocolate bars that have had cranberry in them, but obviously cranberry and dark chocolate sounds like an amazing combination. That is so good. The tartness of the cranberry and like the slight sugariness really complements the dark chocolate. There's a crunch of roasted almond. This is a winner. Really nice. I like this range of Bourneville's. Feels like a healthier guilty pleasure.
We also have some Bourneville products you'll find in the UK that you won't find in India. Firstly, we have Bourneville Old Jamaica. The Old Jamaica refers to rum and raisin flavors added to the dark chocolate. And we also have an orange Bourneville. I personally don't love dark chocolate, and I especially do not love dark chocolate combined with fruit, so I'm respectfully not going to try any of these. If you're wondering where the name Bourneville comes from, it's actually a village that was created by the Cadbury family for workers who worked in their factory near Birmingham. Bourneville still exists today, so you can go and visit it. It's home to Cadbury World, which is a kind of Cadbury museum interactive experience thing, and apparently is a really nice place to live.
And now it's time for all of the remaining Indian Cadbury products, starting with Cadbury Fuse. Their tagline for this is a delicious chocolatey feast, like some sort of chocolatey mousse in the middle, surrounded by caramel, and then the outer layer of chocolate has peanuts in it. So I can imagine this being a proper feast. Kind of nice. I think I could eat this much of one chocolate, but the fact that I'm eating so many varieties of chocolate one after the other is really doing something to my brain. Like, why are we doing this? No, like, what is this? Why are we tasting all of this? What is the point of this show? Next in line, we have the Cadbury Crispello. I want to be on the team that gets to name all of these chocolates. Seems like you can just get away with anything. It's clearly filled with some Rice Krispies and things that are Krispies. Hey, this one is actually really yum. Next up, Cadbury 5-Star 3D. If you don't know what 5-Star is, it's basically the chocolate that made caramel cool in India. It's been around for decades, and actually, fun fact, it's my mom's favorite chocolate. Now they've upgraded to 5-Star 3D. What's the difference between this and any other 5-Star? It has nuts. I will say, having eaten the past 3 chocolates in a row, I'm starting to realize they're kind of the same thing. It's decent. I prefer the original 5-Star. That one sparks nostalgia. This one just feels too modern. Next up, we have a Perk. So Perk is another chocolate that's been around in India for ages now, and it's gone through a lot of evolutions like every other chocolate has. Now they sell Perk in a double pack. It says you can rip it, share it. Oh! Next up, some gemstones. That's right, the UK didn't give us our gemstones back, but they definitely gave us gems.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Sorry, guys.
So they're M&Ms without the M&M branding on top. What I used to do as a kid, you would get a small packet of gems and I would suck on each gem until the color would come off and it would be a white gem. And then I'd put all the white ones in my mouth and bite them like one big chocolate. That was weird, and I had no friends. Cadbury Temptations Rum and Raisin. Rum? And Cadbury Temptations Almond Treat. It smells like rum. Whoa, I did not expect that flavor to be so strong. Can they sell this to children? It kind of tastes like a Christmas rum cake. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think this could be a great Christmas sort of chocolate to have around. Next up is my favorite childhood chocolate, Nutties. I freaking love Nutties. And my favorite part about Nutties is that the branding has not really changed for like decades now. What this chocolate is basically Cadbury chocolate coated over a cashew nut that's covered in nougat. Oh my god, that is so good.
Then we have a load more Cadbury exclusives in the UK, and we'll start with the bars. We'll start with what is technically a Cadbury product, but initially was not. This is the Fry's Chocolate Cream Bar. It's a dark chocolate bar with a creamy, smooth fondant center. A fun fact is that the Fry's were a Quaker family who were the first ones to actually commercially produce chocolate bars in the UK. Before the Fry's came along, drinking chocolate was kind of the only way to consume it. Fry's also makes a peppermint cream bar as well, as Turkish Delight. I will say this is not the best Turkish Delight out there. If you want Turkish Delight, go to a grocery store that sells Turkish food, get some classic stuff, whereas this is a kind of slightly cheapy Turkish Delight encased in chocolate. Next up we have Boost bars. These are chocolate bars filled with caramel and biscuit pieces. When Boost was first launched, I think they were kind of marketed as almost like an energy bar. They had loads of sugar and glucose in them, although I think they have now recently dropped that down and it's just in line more with a standard chocolate bar. Then we're on to Chomps. I personally love a Chomp. These were also a little bit hard to find. I think we had to go to Poundland for these ones as well, but they used to cost like 10p from your local newsagents. It's just like a chocolate bar with toffee/caramel inside. Simple, but effective. Then we have Crunchy bars, which are chocolate bars with a large honeycomb center. Personally don't love crunchy bars. I don't love the texture of the honeycomb and they're very, very sweet. What I do love, however, is a Curly Whirly. These are brilliantly named. They come in these little individual bars like this. They look a bit weird. It's kind of a web of chocolate and caramel. I used to have braces as a kid and I really missed toffee and caramel while I had them on. Moving on, we have a double-decker bar. A nod to the British double-decker buses, this is a 2-layered chocolate bar with a nougat layer as well as a kind of crunchy pieces and caramel layer. I like these. Next up we have fudge bars. Got these little bite-sized ones today. I like these. The guys seem to disagree with me, but I think these are good. I will opt for these in a Heroes box. It's just a bar of fudge covered with chocolate. Then we move on to the picnic bar. It's a chocolate bar that contains, I think, caramel, some Rice Krispie kind of pieces, as well as some raisins and peanuts. Now, while India has a 5-star bar, in the UK, we just have a star bar. I don't think I've ever had one of these before. Apparently it's milk chocolate with caramel and peanut. Let's give it a try. That might get added to my rotation, you know, that's pretty good. Next up we have the Twirl. These are like ribboned chocolate bars, which are then kind of cased within more chocolate. It leads to quite an interesting texture and quite a nice taste. The only issue with Twirls is that they do crumble and kind of go everywhere. You can also get Twirls in orange flavor. Then we're on to Whisper bars. I don't really know how they make these because it's milk chocolate, but it's like aerated. There's kind of little holes all the way through it. We put a man on the moon and we aerated a chocolate bar. The result is a really nice texture actually. It sort of melts in your mouth when you eat it. I have some American colleagues in the US. Last time I visited, this was the one thing they asked me to bring over. You can also get Whisper Gold bars. These are the same as regular Whispers, but they have a layer of caramel running along the top. And the last, but by no means least bar, is the Freddo. It's basically just a tiny piece of solid milk chocolate in the shape of Freddo the Frog. But for people of a certain generation, namely mine, they're also a surprising representation of economic inflation. To put on my angry old man hat for a second, when I was a young'un, these were 10p. And then around 2005, prices started to gradually creep up. Before we knew it, prices were as high as 30p for a Freddo. These outrageous prices actually led to public outcry, so much so that they backed down, and I think nowadays they're around 25p. The Bank of England says that it should have been around 17 or 18p by now, whereas we are getting charged 25, so Cadbury's, give us some cheap Freddos again. Economic rant is now over. You can also get Freddos in a caramel flavor. The last thing to add to the chocolate bars is that you can get pretty much all of them in the form of these share bags. They basically just condense them into bite-sized pieces and put them in a bag that you can open and reseal.
Next up, we have Dairy Milk Bites. There are 2 flavors that we have right now, hazelnut and almond. They look pretty similar to the silk of these flavors, so I imagine these are just smaller bite-sized versions. Next up, Lickables. Why have they done this? Thoughts on this? This is clearly for small children. Somebody want to help me? I have no idea how to open this. This feels like one of those puzzles. Oh. The lower half of it was the chocolate and the rest of it had this toy. Now to the chocolate. There's a QR code because most children have phones that they can scan this with. Oh. Looks like goopy Cadbury chocolate with chunks of Oreo, and you just gotta lick it. This is just weird Cadbury. Okay, next up we have Cadbury Choco Bakes Chalk-Filled Cookies. In case you didn't think this contained chocolate, they reminded you 8 times in the branding. The packaging and the design feels a lot more premium. I feel like there's good value for money here because it was filled to the literal brim. Now we're gonna go to this side. We have Oreo dipped in Cadbury. Damn! I'm really enjoying this whole Oreo Cadbury marriage over here. Now we have an Oreo biscuit coated in Cadbury chocolate. The Oreo biscuit itself is kind of overpowering, so it's alright. Next up, we have this tin can of rich dry fruits. Again in the Cadbury Celebrations line. In India, common gifting culture is to give a box of dry fruits and nuts. And so Cadbury's adapted really well to that. Okay, so the next thing is something very different. This is actually Bournvita, or Cadbury Bournvita. And this is a drinking chocolate. We drink a lot of milk here in India. And as kids, everybody was addicted to one of many different drinking chocolates. Horlicks, Complan, I'm a Milo guy myself. There was Boost and then obviously Bournvita. I think most people were not Bournvita people. This is Cadbury's range of Choco Melts and it's a small dish of chocolate that's used for baking. And finally, the last three packets are toffees that Cadbury sells in bulk. This one is 5-star bites. It's similar to the Dairy Milk Minis. For all my Indian fans of 5-star out there, comment and let me know whether you're more of a Ramesh guy or a Suresh guy. These are packs of toffees, eclairs to be specific. This one is chocolate flavored and this one is coffee flavored. Another quirky thing about India is sometimes when you go to the local stores and you pay in cash and they have to give you change but they don't have any, they'll just give you one of these chocolates and you can't really argue it. You just grab it and go. I think it's very cute actually. It's a very endearing thing about India. But remember, if you're gonna take a chocolate from a store, screw all this, take Melody. Melody is the best chocolate, alright?
In the UK, Cadbury's offers a lot of seasonal products. Now we're recording this episode in late October, so unfortunately we can't get some of the most famous ones. What I'm of course referring to here are Cadbury Cream Eggs and Cadbury Mini Eggs. In the UK, these are only available in the run-up to the Easter holidays, but while they are available, they're wildly popular. Although I will say, I don't like cream eggs. I take stick for this, I think they're gross. The fondant in the middle is grim, you have to kind of like tongue it out, it's just really bizarre. Mini eggs, however, are delicious. I don't know what they're putting in the shells of those things, but God, they're amazing. While we can't get the Easter exclusives right now, what we do have are Halloween and Christmas options. For Halloween, I was able to find these goo heads. I think these are kind of a Halloween version of cream eggs, so I'm gonna crack one open and see. That does look exactly the same as a cream egg, even down to the patterning that's kind of printed on the egg. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much just a cream egg. I just don't like them. Then for Christmas exclusives, I found these Cadbury Puds. These are dairy milk chocolate balls with a truffle center, hazelnut pieces, and rice crisps. They sound pretty good. We also found Cadbury mini snowballs, which are milk chocolate in a crisp sugar shell. They might hurt a little bit more than a normal snowball fight if you have one of these thrown at your head. And of course, you can get a dairy milk advent calendar for Christmas. It looks like some kind of mud monster. Moving away from seasonal items, we have Cadbury Eclairs. Cadbury Eclairs are quite tough pieces of toffee with some chocolate in the center. They're a pretty good jaw workout, but I do quite like these. And another iconic Cadbury item is buttons. These are bags of discs of dairy milk chocolate. Real classic, these have been around for years. From there, we're moving on to Cadbury's biscuit options, possibly the most iconic of which are fingers. These are thin sticks of sweet biscuit covered in dairy milk chocolate. They're very tasty, they're pretty Moorish, and they come in these kind of iconic sleeve tray things. I know with Joe we have a caffeine meter, but if I had a sugar meter, we're blasting off right now. Woo! We also have some other flavor options, including mint, orange, Bournville dark, and finally, white. Roundies are circular, layered wafer biscuits covered in dairy milk chocolate. If you're a fan of wafers, you can also get Time Out wafer bars. Again, it's chocolate wafers, layered and surrounded by chocolate, but this time in more of a bar form than a circular biscuit. The next Cadbury biscuit option is animals. Freddo has hopped into the jungle to join his friends. These are little animal-shaped biscuits, which on one side are covered with chocolate. I don't think I've eaten one of these as an adult, but they were an excellent lunchbox edition when I was a little kid. I'd also be remiss not to talk about mini rolls. These are an iconic British snack. What it is like a chocolate sponge with this kind of cream swirl in the middle, surrounded by milk chocolate. I'm not sure why the mini roll is currently saying I'm rich and famous, but good for the mini roll. These are great. Finally, Cadbury's offers some baked options, which you might find in the bakery section of your local supermarket. These can include things like donuts and muffins, but the ones I was able to find today were flapjack bites. In the UK, when we say flapjacks, we don't mean pancakes, which I think Americans can say sometimes. Flapjacks over here are kind of like oats held together with honey, golden syrup, and some other stuff. And these mini cookies. Here's everything in a bar of dairy milk chocolate in the UK.
Here's everything you'll find in a bar of dairy milk chocolate here in India. So the list of ingredients is pretty much the same in the UK and in India, but the UK uses palm and shea fats, which is not specifically listed here in India.
India goes into a little bit more detail on the flavorings used in the chocolate, listing natural vanillin as well as artificial ethyl vanillin. As the name suggests, this is the main component of vanilla bean extract. Some kind of vanillin is likely present in the UK chocolate, it's just contained within the flavorings on the list.
But how much chocolate are you actually getting in your chocolate? The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India has some minimum requirements for what milk chocolate should contain. The rules are 25% total fat, 2% milk fat, 2.5% cocoa solids, and 10.5% milk solids.
We have equivalent rules here in the UK. The Cocoa and Chocolate Products Regulations of 2003 set the minimums for milk chocolate at 25% total fat, 2.5% milk fat, 20% dry cocoa solids, 2.5% dry non-fat cocoa solids, and 20% dry milk solids. Cadbury in the UK says its chocolate contains 23% milk solids and meets the EU minimum of 20% for cocoa solids.
India's Cadbury packaging says it contains over 22% milk solids, so thank you Cadbury for not being chindi. It is interesting that Indian rules do not have a minimum for dry, fat-free cocoa solids in milk chocolate. The dark chocolates, however, have a minimum and it's 14%.
Dry cocoa solids tends to refer to cocoa powder, which is one of the purest forms of cocoa. Having more cocoa solids therefore gives the end product a stronger chocolate taste. 100 grams of dairy milk in the UK contains the following.
100 grams of dairy milk in India contains...
The calories are actually identical. The least healthy bar in the UK is the Big Taste Toffee Whole Nut Bar. One of these contains 560 calories per 100 grams, a slight increase on dairy milk.
But what is the least healthy chocolate bar here in India? It's the Dairy Milk Silk Hazelnut. 100 grams of this contains 571 calories, which is more than any bar in the UK. I guess it's a win? I'm counting it as a win. Anyways, I'm going to go on a long run because I definitely have diabetes at this point. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. It pays for my hospital bills.